DDP and Khamzat got announced.
Oh, no
Yeah, August 16th, on my birthday.
No, let's go.
3/19,
Let's go, dog.
Yeah.
Where's that going to be at?
Chicago.
Oh, no shit. They're letting the fucking terrorists in.
Sean Strickland dismissed Khamzat Chimaev's hype by backing Dricus du Plessis to expose his wrestling as overrated and hand him his first loss.
You know, he beats DDP, or do you think DDP retains?
You know what's hard? So those little Chechen fucks, I don't want to say Chechen, he's not Chechen, he's Swedish, but those little Chechen whore, like, dude, they can grapple. And like someone like me, who I've been training with these fucks for years, I usually could counter wrestle and grapple them. So I just don't know if fucking Dricus can be able to counter wrestle him.
Yeah.
But if he can, I think he wins all hands down, you know?
Sean Strickland didn't hold back when sharing his take on the highly anticipated UFC 319 middleweight title fight between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. Known for his outspoken nature, Strickland threw the MMA world a curveball by picking du Plessis to become the first man to hand Chimaev a professional loss. Despite having sparred with Chimaev and gone 10 grueling rounds across 2 fights with du Plessis, both of which he lost, Strickland believes that if the South African can neutralize Chimaev's takedowns, the fight is as good as won for the champion. His comments stirred debate in the MMA community, especially given his close proximity and experience with both fighters.
But it's just going to come down to, like, are you going to be able to, like, stop that counter? Are you going to be able to counter wrestle? And, like, you can. It's not hard. You just got to, like, it's not hard. Yeah. But, you know, I've been training these little fucking, you know, these little terrorists for forever. So it's like, I just got to know how to do it.
In a recent interview, Strickland dissected Chimaev's strengths and explained that while the Chechen-born fighter can certainly grapple and wrestle at a high level, it's not an unsolvable puzzle. He emphasized that someone with the right defensive skill set, like himself or potentially du Plessis, can counter-wrestle effectively against Chimaev. In Strickland's eyes, du Plessis doesn't even need to out-wrestle him, just survive and keep the fight standing. He believes if the South African can manage that, he has all the tools to walk away with the win.
Did you see DDP and Khamzat got announced?
Oh, no
Yeah.
Where's that going to be at?
Chicago.
Oh, no They're letting the terrorists in.
Do you think he beats DDP, or do you think DDP retains?
You know what's hard? So those little Chechen, dude, they can grapple. And like someone like me, who I've been training with these for years, I usually could counter wrestle and grapple them. So I just don't know if Dricus can be able to counter wrestle him. But if he can, I think he wins all hands down, you know? I sparred the Chechen, like, hands down, I think Dricus wins. But it's just going to come down to, like, are you going to be able to, like, counter wrestle? And like you can, it's not hard.
Interestingly, Strickland's point of view differs from that of Darren Till, who has also trained with Chimaev and fought du Plessis. Till, despite his respect for the reigning champion's work ethic and unique fighting style, sees Chimaev as a nightmare matchup for him. The former title challenger confidently predicted that Chimaev would finish du Plessis within 2 rounds. In Till's view, Chimaev's power, intensity, and relentless pace in the early rounds will be too much for du Plessis to handle. He mentioned a recent FaceTime conversation with Chimaev, during which it became clear that Chimaev is well aware of the threat du Plessis poses. Still, Till has complete faith in Chimaev's work ethic and conditioning, and he expects the fight to end quickly.
If I went back to the UFC now, as the middleweight I could be, I'd fucking tear that Dricus' head off. Tell Dricus I said fuck him, by the way. The little fucking gobshite. Because I can't stand his guts, because he's so shit, he's so good.
You think he beats Khamzat, your boy?
No, look, I'm with respect, I'm never going to look past Dricus because he trains hard, he's super dedicated, he's super strong, and he's got that awkward style that doesn't make any sense. I think Khamzat will beat him inside the 2 rounds. I really do believe that. But look, Khamzat knows. I was speaking to Khamzat on the FaceTime the other day because I'm meant to be going out to Dubai to help with the camp. Khamzat knows it's a tough fight, but, you know, Khamzat trains like a beast. I do think Khamzat gets it in 2 rounds done. Do you know what I'm saying?
By the way, you're looking svelte. You're looking great. How much are you weighing right now?
Everyone's been saying that, you know, that I'm looking fabulous.
Yeah, you are.
Ariel, let's just go. Do I look fabulous?
I think you look fabulous. The teeth are just like blinding me. I wish I was wearing sunglasses right now, but you're looking fit. Way fitter than the last time, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to show me another thing there. It was getting very low, the camera. It was weird.
Whoa.
It was uncomfortable.
Whoa. Only my missus gets to see that. Don't be disrespectful.
UFC came out, speaking of dingers, UFC came out with some freaking bombs.
Really?
They announced Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, Khamzat, DDP in Chicago.
Khamzat, DDP.
Who you got in that? Let's start with that. Khamzat, DDP, who you got? I got a feeling DDP wins that.
I have Khamzat.
I don't.
Yeah.
If Khamzat can get done the first round and a half, maybe, I just think that thing goes past the third and DDP takes over. I think he TKOs him.
I think Khamzat is a better striker, and I think Khamzat's a better wrestler, and I think DDP is a killer. But I think it's Khamzat's time.
Could be totally off on Khamzat. He's a minus 200. Dude, take my fucking money.
Really? You got DDP?
Yes. Especially as a dog. I figured it'd be the favorite.
I have to say,
I figured DDP would be like a minus 150. Well, Khamzat, I look at the Gilbert Burns fight. You know, you look at the Kamaru Usman fight. You're like, okay.
Yeah, but he did out wrestle Kamaru a lot.
Michael Bisping added a different layer to the discussion. While he acknowledged Chimaev's explosiveness and finishing ability, he also raised concerns about the undefeated fighter's cardio in a 5-round title bout. Bisping pointed out that Chimaev has never been tested in the championship rounds. In his fights with Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman, both of which went the distance, Chimaev appeared to tire significantly. Bisping even went so far as to suggest that Chimaev was fortunate to walk away with the win against Usman. According to him, the main issue lies in Chimaev's ability to maintain the same level of aggression and effectiveness beyond the 3rd round.
Khamzat Chimaev is a force of nature, and he only knows how to fight one speed, and that's why people really enjoy watching this guy fight. He goes forward, he's a straight-up killer, he's looking to take you down, do damage, knock you out, squeeze your head off. Whatever it is, he's trying to do damage right from the opening bell. And that's what he's done to almost everybody. 14 wins, 12 stoppages. Only time he's gone to a decision is twice against Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. And we know what happened there. He got a little bit tired. And against Kamaru Usman, well, he was kind of lucky to get that decision. I'm not talking shit about Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's phenomenal. But I think he's got some problems here going 5 rounds against Dricus du Plessis. We've never seen him go 5 rounds. But we do know the man is a finisher, he is a phenom, he's a freak of nature, he's a strong son of a bitch, he's a great wrestler. He might not have the accolades of a Bold Nickel, but holy shit, when it comes to being effective, Khamzat Chimaev is right up there.
While Bisping remains a fan of Chimaev's explosiveness and considers him a phenomenal finisher and grappler, he warned that du Plessis may have the endurance and grit needed to capitalize if the fight drags on.
That we have in mixed martial arts right now. In fact, I will say the 2 best finishers in all of MMA right now, Tom Aspinall and Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat, 14 fights, 12 stoppages, 2 decisions, as I said earlier. And I'm telling you, he's going to try and finish Dricus du Plessis straight away. And that's his best bet. Now, Dricus du Plessis, this man's on fire, right? He's 23-2 overall. He's on an 11-fight win streak. He's got 10 wins in the UFC. And of course, this will be his 3rd title defense. He beat Sean Strickland by unanimous decision. He choked out Israel Adesanya in the 4th round. And he took the belt, as we know, in a close split decision victory over Sean Strickland way back at UFC 297. But they always say when you become the champion, you get 30% better. This man is improving all the time. He's got tremendous grappling of his own. If Khamzat Chimaev thinks that he's going to go out there and just take down Dricus du Plessis and just choke him out, right, like he's some schmuck, like he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's not someone that choked out an entire black belt jiu-jitsu team one after the other, then I think Khamzat Chimaev will be in for a rude awakening.
Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen took issue with a different narrative emerging ahead of UFC 319. The always opinionated former UFC title challenger addressed a joke made by du Plessis about Chimaev's past health issues and fight cancellations. Du Plessis had mocked Chimaev in response to the UFC announcing Nassourdine Imavov as the backup fighter for the event, implying that the Frenchman would end up fighting because Chimaev was likely to pull out. Sonnen strongly pushed back on this sentiment, calling it a false rumor. He reminded fans that Chimaev's most serious withdrawal occurred during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when he was so ill he was placed on a ventilator and considered retirement. Sonnen argued that it's unfair to hold that situation against Chimaev 5 years later, especially when it's used to undermine his credibility.
I feel like this rises the stock of Imanov, who, by the way, after getting an incredible win over Adesanya, does deserve something. He did look like kind of the odd man out as the other 85-pounders were getting matched up, so I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, Dricus went a step further. Dricus took the post that says Imanov will be backup fighter, and Dricus took that as an announcement that in Chicago later this year he will be defending his title against Imanov because he believes that Chimaev, who has a history of pulling out of fights, is going to stick true to form and pull out of the fight. And by the way, That's a little bit of a false rumor. That whole idea that Chimaev has had to pull out of a bunch of fights, that really is a little bit of a false rumor. And I could break that down and you could show me your evidence, but I mean, come on. When the pandemic hit, Chimaev never thought he was going to fight again. He thought he was going to be one of the statistics. He was on a ventilator. He didn't believe he was ever going to leave that room. So that was the first of the fights that he had to pull out of. And I just share for you in extreme cases such as that. I don't know that 5 years later we stick around and use that to try to like pierce the veil of this guy's immaculate credibility.
Adding more depth to the discussion was Reinier de Ridder, the former 2 Division 1 champion now climbing the UFC ranks. De Ridder has sparred with both du Plessis and Chimaev in the past, and offered a well-rounded perspective based on first-hand experience. He gave a nuanced breakdown of how he sees the matchup playing out. Like Bisping and Strickland, de Ridder thinks Chimaev's early aggression could backfire if he fails to secure a finish in the opening rounds. While acknowledging Chimaev's tendency to blitz opponents early, de Ridder emphasized that du Plessis is not easily taken down. The South African may have an unconventional fighting style, but his footwork and movement make him tricky to pin down.
I know you've been asked a million times about like the Khamzat and Dricus fight, but now that we do have a date, like a location, all that kind of stuff, maybe you can talk about it in more real terms since we know when and where it's happening.
Yeah, it's August, and where is it?
Chicago.
Oh,
August 16th.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So apparently Khamzat can fight in the US.
Yeah, yeah. Now Trump is in office.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about it before. Do you still feel Khamzat has the advantage there?
No, I think Dricus is gonna. I think Dricus will win. Yeah.
De Ridder went further to say that if du Plessis survives the early onslaught, the fight could begin to shift dramatically in his favor. According to him, each round that passes without a finish will tilt the momentum toward du Plessis, who has shown the ability to maintain explosiveness even when he appears completely gassed. The former one champion praised du Plessis' unorthodox but surprisingly effective technique, saying it confuses opponents and creates constant problems in exchanges. While he respects Chimaev's talent and acknowledges that he's a freak of nature in terms of physicality and finishing instinct, de Ridder ultimately sides with du Plessis as the likely winner, especially in a drawn-out fight.
I don't think Khamzat is gonna get him out of there early, and Dricus is a motherfucker, man. He keeps going, and every round, though it doesn't really look better, he looks better at his technique. He gets better every round, and I see Dricus like finishing him in the late rounds, like 4th round, 5th round, maybe, with a lot of volume. I see Khamzat maybe taking him down in the 1st, 2nd round, getting to his back, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think Dricus has a good shot, man.
His endorsement of du Plessis carries additional weight because of their shared history. Long before either man made it to the UFC, they competed in the same regional circuits, though they never fought. When they finally met in training, de Ridder walked away with a positive impression of du Plessis, not just as a fighter, but also as a person. Describing him as energetic, friendly, and a bit all over the place, de Ridder noted that du Plessis' personality mirrors his fighting style, chaotic but oddly effective.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Are you gonna try to, get there and be at the fight, cage side, all that kind of stuff, make your presence known?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, why not? I'll be in Florida because we're moving over to the US with my wife and kids soon. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're going all in on the US move.
Yeah, I have to, man. I have to. These are the years, and we found a school for the kids, and everything is set up there. So yeah, it's time.
Yoel Romero gave Chimaev a narrow edge, attributing it to his Olympic caliber grappling, which he believes sets him apart in a close matchup.
1640. Khamzat.
You have what, sorry? Who do you think? 60 Dricus?
16% for Chimaev and 40% for du Plessis. Yeah, that's a way.
So you think Chimaev, you're kind of slightly leaning towards Chimaev.
Yes.
Why? Why do you think?
Wrestling. The wrestling. The wrestling for Chimaev right now is very, very dangerous.
Similarly, Bo Nickal viewed Chimaev's style as emblematic of the growing dominance of grapplers in MMA, grouping him with fighters like Islam Makhachev and Merab Dvalishvili, who are redefining the sport through pressure and control.
You know, just based on the styles, I just think the grappling style, you know, I might be biased. I'm definitely biased, but I think the grappling style is so hard to beat, and it's so hard to defend against. And I guess if you look at it from a analytical point of view, you have so many. It's really become the dominant force in the sport. You got Merab, you got Islam, you got Bilal, you got Khamzat. You even have you can even look at Topuria. Obviously, people know he's more of a boxing style, and he does a lot more striking, but his background is wrestling. You know, he did that before anything else. And so it's really wrestlers that are dominating, grapplers that are dominating the sport right now.
Dominick Cruz has spoken positively about the South African champion's striking versatility and his ability to switch stances, which Cruz believes helps nullify takedown threats. He also highlighted Du Plessis' physical toughness and mental poise as key tools that could allow him to weather Chimaev's trademark early aggression, a storm that has historically broken opponents early.
Man, I actually really like Dricus right now, the way he's looking. Like I said in the Schmo interview, he doesn't really stay on the center line. His striking and the stance switch really supports him in the rest of the takedown defense. Yeah. Because as long as you don't sit right in front of a guy consistently, it's hard to get a hold of the legs and shoot on you. So he's also very big and strong, so I think he can challenge the strength of Chimaev in the first 2 rounds, which a lot of people haven't been able to rival. Just the strength alone has been too much, and I think Dricus is sturdy enough and big enough he can challenge it, but I will say I think it might be the toughest fight of his career so far.
Luke Rockhold echoed this view, suggesting that Chimaev tends to front-load his fights and may struggle if it extends into the later rounds, where Du Plessis' durability and conditioning could shine.
It's not always about the most technical guy. You know, it's the guy who wants it more. And
how do you think fares against Khamzat?
I think Khamzat is a go for broke kind of guy. Khamzat, if he can't out wrestle you, he can't control you in that fierce state of the direction of what he does. You know, I think he'll break. Khamzat will get him if he'll get him, but if he can't get him, it's going to be a hard 3rd, 4th, and 5th round.
Right.
I think that's going to be all Dricus.
So if it goes into the championship rounds, you like the champ?
Yeah, 100%.
Who wins, Dricus du Plessis or Khamzat Chimaev?
Robert Whitaker, having fought both men, offered a more measured take. He acknowledged Chimaev's explosive entry as a real danger, but noted that Du Plessis brings a combination of strength and awkward movement that could disrupt Chimaev's rhythm. In Whitaker's view, Du Plessis might pose a more complex threat than someone like Sean Strickland, whose straightforward style contrasts with the unpredictable approach Du Plessis often employs.
Khamzat against Dricus or Sean, do you think he'd be the favorite against either of them?
I think he just takes him down, and like how he beat Usman, how he beat Joe Burns. I can see those sort of fights. I think he'd have more success with Strickland than Du Plessis, because Du Plessis is like a big dude. But ultimately, stopping that first takedown is so crazy. The way he shoots in that first shot is crazy. How do you stop that dude? Jump over it. Like,
Coach Tim Welch added another layer to the conversation by pointing out Du Plessis' psychological gamesmanship. He speculated that Du Plessis might succeed in rattling Chimaev emotionally, which could affect the latter's focus during the fight. While Welch didn't see Du Plessis as possessing the same scrambling ability as someone like Strickland, he emphasized that the mental aspect of the matchup could prove to be a wild card.
Khamzat said in training, I submitted him multiple times. In a fight, it's a little different. And Strickland, you've seen Strickland get dumped before. He is an expert at getting up. He's really good wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu. But just like you said, can you survive the first fucking 3 minutes with that dude? Gnarly.
That's fire.
I miss the crazy Khamzat, but now that he's getting into these top 5 elite guys, I mean, it's probably better that he's not crazy Khamzat.
Dude, I mean, that looked like crazy Khamzat to me.
All week being respectful of the press conferences, respectful of like everything.
Yeah.
It was a lot different than he used to be.
DDP has a way of poking at opponents too, though, so he might be able to pull that crazy Khamzat back out of him.
I'd love to see DDP beat him.
Kamaru Usman, having recently faced Chimaev, spoke to the overwhelming nature of the Chechen's grip and top control, but raised the question of whether such dominance could be replicated against someone as physically resilient and relentless as Du Plessis.
Khamzat Chimaev on your back for round 1 is not easy to get off. And then he was able to sink that in, and that goes to show how strong of the squeeze this freaking dude is.
Could he pull that same style against Dricus du Plessis? Because I will say this.
Even Ilia Topuria, who holds friendships with both fighters, acknowledged the stakes and intrigue of the bout, suggesting it could be a defining moment for the division. Though he leaned slightly toward Chimaev based on his aggressive finishing style, he, like many others, recognized the razor-thin margin between the two rising forces.
He's a savage. He calls him his shots, he finishes his opponents. When he goes inside the octagon, you know that that guy goes for the finish. He's not looking for the decision. That's why I respect Khamzat. He's a fucking beast. So he deserves to fight for the title as soon as possible. We're gonna have an amazing fight because I love Dricus du Plessis. He's a great human being. I have a great relationship with him. I have a great relationship with Khamzat also. But as a fan of mixed martial arts, it's gonna be a very exciting fight. I hope the best man wins, and I wish best of the luck to both of them.
UFC 319 is already one of the most talked about events of the year, and the buildup is rich with storylines. On one side is Khamzat Chimaev, the undefeated phenom with a reputation for mauling his opponents early and finishing with flair. On the other side is Dricus du Plessis, the reigning middleweight king who has quietly built a resume full of upsets and highlight reel moments, all while sporting a style that few can make sense of.
Does Khamzat beat DDP? Man, Khamzat could beat anybody in the world in about a round. It's super impressed with what he did to Robert Whitaker. I don't see that against DDP. DDP's scrambling, man. You're going to need to really be able to pace yourself for 5 rounds. With DDP's train, just continue to keep rolling, and he's still steaming, and his train's still hot. It depends on how long DDP wants to take a break. You're going to have to prepare, man, for a guy like DDP. You're going to need a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder to get ready, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think DDP's too, I used to think he was the sloppiest thing on planet Earth, and I thought the same thing about Prime until they bring that volume and just the tenacity. Changes everything.
With opinions split among elite-level fighters and analysts, fans are left wondering which version of each man will show up. So what are your thoughts about this? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.